Hello, and thank you for visiting my Y&R Insider 24 update channel. 3 options are available. Kyle's latest mistake backfires. Audra refuses to leave. The Young and the Restless spoilers document that Kyle Abbott, Michael Miller, admitted that he screwed up. However, what transpired between him and Haley Erin's Claire Newman extends beyond them. Claire's soapy upbringing meant that she wasn't allowed to develop normal social connections, which included dating. Consequently, prior to Kyle's appearance in her life, she lacked a boyfriend. Viewers recall that Harrison Abbott, Redding Munsell, was kidnapped, along with Claire, by Jordan Howard, Colleen Zenk. That established the bond between them that led to Claire's connection with Kyle, whom she realizes she's not ready to love. Surprised, Nikki and Victoria Newman received the news. Claire's mother and grandmother are 2 people she intended to damage approximately a year ago. Jordan's kidnapping of Claire at birth and raising of her in a cult of personality fashion meant Erin's character didn't know who to trust. Jordan, her great-aunt, seemed to be telling the truth, in her opinion. Cole Howard, Jay, and Victoria Newman, Amelia Heinley, Eddie Peck, never left her alone in the NICU. Thankfully, Claire recognized reality at the cabin where Jordan intended to kill many members of the Newman family and her nephew, Cole. Victoria and Nikki have since established a loving and protective bond with Claire. They supported her relationship with Kyle and were surprised to learn that she recently ended it. Claire's mention of their relationships with Cole and Victor Newman, Eric Braden, was well-intentioned and impacted their response. Kyle Abbott was a robed mouse. Kyle doesn't have to be perfect, though he seems to feel that way. An assumed emotional burden was placed on Kyle due to the imbalance between his extensive relationship experience, which includes marriage and parenthood. Recent events, especially those that included Audra Charles, Zuleika Silva, exposed the contrast between where Claire and Kyle are in their lives. It's not like Kyle could have done anything differently, like playing cat and mouse with Audra in Kane Ashby's, Billy Flynn's, train car. However, Claire was unable to comprehend or, as is understandable, shrug off the complexity of Kyle's intentions for Audra. Holden Novak, played by Nathan Owens, could be Claire's next real-life relationship or just a rebound distraction. But as of now, Claire is taking time and creating space to lift her spirit, and that is completely reasonable. Kyle needs to keep to himself and let time flow. His impulsive nature implies that it won't happen and that he'll make another bad decision by questioning Claire's decision to travel with Holden to California. Recalculation is required by Audra Charles. Audra discovers that she has quit her previous employment with Kane a few years into her run in Genoa City, Wisconsin. She is also single and not by choice. Losing Nate Hastings, Sean Dominic, stings. Audra is able to place blame on Kyle, but deep down she is aware that he is not to blame for Nate's alienation. A second romantic outburst between Kyle and Audra is not out of the question. It also wouldn't be stunning to see this pair form into a couple by winter. Audra would realize that Kyle is the man she loves if she was honest with herself. He doesn't feel the same about her, yet. This site is a leading source for everything linked to the Young and the Restless. Check back regularly for Y&R spoilers and news. Kyle Abbott's inner conflict and unraveling choices. On The Young and the Restless, Kyle Abbott, Michael Miller, has always been a complicated character who is torn between his own desires and the recollections of his Abbott heritage. In this latest storyline, his actions once again remind fans that Kyle is as much a product of impulsive decisions as he is of carefully considered strategy. Kyle's admission that he screwed up is a pivotal moment, not only for his character but for how his relationships moving forward will be shaped. He's not just dealing with the fallout of a breakup with Claire Newman, Haley Erin, he's facing the ripple effect of choices made in haste, wrapped in immaturity, and influenced by unresolved longing. Kyle's problem has always been that he acts emotionally while longing for control. He wants to appear as though he's thinking 10 steps ahead, but often his heart and ego push him into situations where damage is inevitable. This time, what started out as a hopeful relationship with Claire has turned into a defining reminder of the importance of timing, maturity, and emotional baggage. From Claire's perspective, she stepped into the relationship with limited experience, hoping that Kyle could be someone steady in her life. Instead, she met a man whose past is messy, whose impulses get the better of him, and who doesn't seem to be able to stop long enough to understand that empathy and patience can sometimes be more powerful than passion. Kyle's experience imbalance was never properly addressed. He assumed leadership in their bond, guided by his history as a parent and as a man with numerous relationships, but in doing so, he overlooked the simple truth: Claire wasn't in the same emotional place as he was. Rather than nurturing her growth and allowing the relationship to build slowly, he allowed frustration and old habits, particularly involving Audra Charles, Zuleika Silva, to wedge their way between them. This is where the story gains depth. Kyle's backfiring mistake isn't only about losing Claire, it's about reopening the door to Audra, a woman whose presence in his life has always been both intoxicating and toxic. Kyle's inability to distinguish between flirtation and destructive choices was symbolized by the robed mouse game in Billy Flynn's train car with Kane Ashby. For Claire, already fragile from her past, this was too much. For Kyle, it was a reckless lapse that he can't erase. In Genoa City, nothing stays secret for long, and mistakes always boomerang back to those who make them. Claire Newman's journey of healing and boundaries. Claire Newman, Hayley Erin, is a character whose life has been steeped in soapy tragedy, trauma, and redemption. Raised in the shadow of lies by Jordan Howard, Colleen Zenk, who kidnapped her at birth and raised her in a warped cult-like existence, Claire never had the chance to experience a normal childhood or adolescence. She was denied the innocence of first loves, school friendships, and the trial and error of teenage romance. By the time she came into her own identity, she was already burdened with emotional scars, trust issues, and a fractured sense of self. Her relationship with Kyle marked her first real step into intimacy, but it was a shaky experiment from the start. Despite her desire for connection, Claire was also burdened by unresolved trust issues. She and Harrison Abbott's, Redding Munsell, kidnapping formed a bond that was based on trauma rather than pure romance. Despite their apparent strength, trauma bonds can be fragile when put to the test by everyday conflicts. When Kyle made decisions that clashed with her need for security and patience, the relationship quickly cracked. Claire's decision to end the romance wasn't rooted in coldness, it was self-preservation. By referencing her mother Victoria Newman, Amelia Heinley, and grandmother Nikki Newman's, Melody Thomas Scott, past relationships, Claire revealed how deeply she has been analyzing love and trust. She looked at Victoria's rollercoaster history with men, at Nikki's complicated but enduring bond with Victor Newman, Eric Braeden, and realized she wasn't ready to dive into a mess of her own. Instead, she chose space, healing, and rediscovering herself outside of Kyle. This is why her potential connection with Holden Novak, Nathan Owens, feels so different. Holden is lightness, an opportunity for Claire to explore what she wants without the shadow of betrayal or baggage, whether it's a rebound or something more permanent. By traveling to California with Holden, she's not abandoning her family ties or disregarding her healing process, she's actively choosing herself. As a result, she has transformed from a victim of manipulation to a young woman who is able to set boundaries. Victoria and Nikki's protective support. In a short amount of time, Victoria and Nikki Newman's role in Claire's life has changed dramatically. Once the targets of Claire's misplaced vengeance, they are now her fiercest protectors. Their surprise at her breakup with Kyle is layered with empathy. Both women know firsthand what it means to fall for men who can't meet them where they are emotionally. Victoria, with her complicated history with men like J.T. Hellstrom, Billy Abbott, and Ashland Locke, and Nikki, with her tumultuous marriage to Victor, have walked this road many times. When Claire pointed to their relationships as examples, it landed deeply. Claire's acknowledgement that love can be messy and sometimes even destructive reminded them of their own journeys. They knew how important it was to let Claire heal, so they didn't push her back toward Kyle or ignore her choice. For Nikki, the protective instinct over her granddaughter is heightened by guilt. After all, she wasn't able to protect Claire at birth from Jordan's schemes. For Victoria, there's both relief and sadness. Relief that her daughter is wise enough to set boundaries, and sadness that her child is forced to face heartbreak so early in her new life of freedom. Audra Charles, the woman who won't leave. Audra Charles is one of those characters who thrives on staying relevant, no matter the cost. In this storyline, she proves once again that she refuses to fade into the background. She has been burned by love multiple times, and her relationship with Kyle is both a source of comfort and chaos. The loss of Nate Hastings, Sean Dominic, was a blow from which she has not fully recovered. Audra is the kind of woman who believes in second, third, and fourth chances if it means she can hold on to what she wants, and what she wants is Kyle. Kyle may not see her as the woman of his dreams, but Audra is convinced she can make him realize that she's his true match. Her refusal to leave, both literally and emotionally, sets up a dangerous dynamic. While Claire is walking away for self-preservation, Audra is walking toward the fire. She enjoys the game and the excitement of demonstrating that she can outlast, outmaneuver, and outdesire anyone in Kyle's vicinity. It's part ego, part obsession, and part loneliness. Her career is also in a state of flux. Leaving Kane and whatever tangled mess that partnership was has left her unmoored professionally. In the past, she's used work to distract herself from heartache, but now, with no career anchor, she is pouring all her energy into Kyle. This makes her presence in his life both suffocating and dangerous. If Kyle gives in again, it could spiral into another toxic cycle. Audra may lash out in unpredictable ways if he rejects her. Either path keeps her relevant in Genoa City drama, and that's exactly where she intends to stay. The bigger picture, Kyle at a crossroads. At its core, this storyline places Kyle Abbott at a crossroads that will define his future. On one side, there's the path of maturity, respecting Claire's boundaries, focusing on Harrison, and rebuilding his sense of self without leaning on romantic distractions. On the other side, there's the path of destruction, rekindling a volatile romance with Audra, questioning Claire's choices with Holden, and making impulsive decisions that erode his reputation further. Kyle's character has always walked a tightrope between responsible fatherhood and reckless entitlement. He enjoys privilege because of his family's name, but he still faces consequences. Each time he chooses recklessness, whether in love, business, or family drama, he risks alienating those who love him most. Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman, has warned him repeatedly about impulsive behavior, and Diane Jenkins, Susan Walters, has worked hard to give him stability, yet Kyle continues to fall into the same patterns. This time, though, the stakes feel different. His entanglement with Claire could have been redemptive, but instead, it highlighted his inability to provide the patience she needed. His entanglement with Audra highlights his addiction to chaos. Somewhere between those two relationships lies a truth Kyle hasn't yet acknowledged. He doesn't fully know who he is outside of being a father and a lover. Mistakes will continue to backfire until he addresses that. Conclusion: what comes next? In The Young and the Restless, the aftermath of Kyle's mistakes and Audra's refusal to leave provide fertile ground for ongoing drama. Fans can expect ripple effects touching not only Kyle, Claire, and Audra, but also the broader Newman and Abbott families. Victoria and Nikki may be inspired to examine their own relationships by Claire's independence. Audra's persistence could drag Kyle into another round of betrayal and regret. And Kyle himself will either grow from this or spiral deeper into self-sabotage. One thing is abundantly clear: this storyline reaffirms why Genoa City continues to be one of the most captivating fictional towns on daytime television. Love, betrayal, trauma, and second chances intertwine, proving yet again that in The Young and the Restless, no mistake stays hidden, no love is without consequence, and no character truly ever leaves the drama behind.